Hi, everyone. I'm Janice Yasui. Thanks for joining me for today's presentation on Pathwork Lecture 112, which is Humanity's Relationship to Time. A very interesting topic. Let me share my screen with you. First, just a little bit about me before we get started. I've been studying Pathwork since 1999. And it's led me to recently finish Pathwork of California's helpership training program earlier this year in 2023. And now I'm currently assisting in Pathwork of California's 3-year Pathwork transformation program, which we start just this fall, which is exciting. And just my favorite Pathwork theme, at least for today, just like your favorite song, maybe it'll change from time to time, but I really like this idea of the great transition in human development. And there's even a whole Pathwork lecture about it. And what it means is that there's a lot of really good personal growth work that we're all doing on the planet right now, in different modalities, different kinds of healing. And it's all really good work. But there's actually a larger context in which all of this personal work is taking place, and that is a collective transition in human consciousness. And the Pathwork is really good at talking about this bigger consciousness, this bigger transition. And when we're aware of that part, it just lends our own individual work that much more meaning and purpose when we have this bigger context. So that's what motivates me much of the time, and what I find so fascinating about the way Pathwork in particular explains these things. And hopefully you'll get a little bit of what I mean from today's topic, which is time. Here's just a brief agenda. I'm going to walk us through an attunement. I'm going to do some teaching. We're going to do an exercise. We'll do a little more teaching, and then I'll give us a closing blessing. So before we get started, let's all just become present. And I invite us to close our eyes if it feels good. Just become aware of the sensation of your seat and that gentle tug of gravity. On the next couple breaths, feel welcome into this moment. And I invite you to feel open and curious, and most of all, present to the teachings today. And when you're ready, open your eyes and return to Zoom. Okay, the guide even mentions this at the beginning of the lecture, is this time is just abstract concept. Why are we even talking about it? And in a way that's true, it can be abstract, but it needn't be abstract. And I'm showing a picture here on the screen of, I think I saw this on a t-shirt or a poster when I was a teenager. And I thought this was just the funniest thing ever. This picture of the galaxy as though it were a map showing you are here. And in a way, it is actually helpful to zoom out, if you will, and see, where am I in all this? What am I doing here? What's going on in the big picture? And like I said, Pathwork is really good at uniting these big universal concepts with very detailed and practical concepts just relevant to human daily life. And not even just human daily life, but your and mine specific, unique, personal lives. So yeah, it's abstract and big, and that's really cool. So I probably don't really even need to tell anyone listening here that time is actually a really relevant topic in today's world. It's woven through so many things, actually. And, with social media and phones and computers and the internet and media of all kinds, more than ever before, we're constantly tugging at time and how much of it we have and how do we utilize it properly. And you can take time management courses and read up on procrastination, which always seems to, threaten progress. And at the same time, alongside of all of this, there is growing in our culture this recognition of the power of now, the classic book Now, Be Here Now, mindfulness meditation, which is growing in popularity. All of that is a counterbalance to these other forces that just seem to pull and tug in our daily lives. And I would argue this is really all about time. So time, of course, is a very relevant topic. And the guide says at the very beginning of this lecture, this is indeed a very important subject. And I just think it's interesting that the guide was teaching this way back in 1963, even before cell phones and the internet were created. It's just become ever more relevant. So in this lecture, we even dare to define what is time. And the guide says, time is a creation of consciousness, specifically limited consciousness, so that time is a fragment. It's a fragment cut of a wider and freer dimension of experience. It's a fragment, so it's very limiting. And this lecture actually has a pretty good description of how time, space, and movement, they're all separate things. And we sort of take the separateness for granted in the normal 3D world that we live in. But the guide gives a good description of how, very simply, we take for granted, I'm in a certain space and I want to get to another space over there. And that's going to take time to get from here to there. And in order to do that, I have to move. So movement is the thing that links space and time. So they're all separate things that we have to deal with. But if you can expand your mind a little bit, the guide says, that's not where it ends. There are many, many more levels of time than our normal human brain can even conceive of. And the task is to not even understand that right now, but just to really open up to what wider possibilities might be. Now, as I thought about this, this is just for fun, I thought about, time is actually on a spectrum. The 3D reality that we sit in right now is a higher dimension actually than, other levels. And this reminded me of a scene from Superman. So I thought it would be fun to play it for you and get a sense of what a more limited dimension than our 3D time might be.
Of the planet Krypton. Finally, General Zod, once trusted by this council, charged with maintaining the defense of the planet Krypton itself, chief architect of this intended revolution and author of this insidious plot to establish a new order amongst us, with himself as absolute ruler. You have heard the evidence. The decision of the council will now be heard.
Guilty.
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 The vote must be unanimous, Jor-El. It has therefore now become your decision. You alone will condemn us if you wish, and you alone will be held responsible by me. have been known to disagree with the Council before. Yours could become an important voice in the new order, second only to my own. I offer you a chance for greatness, Jor-El. Take it. Join us. You will bow down before me, Jor-El. I swear it. No matter that it takes an eternity, you will bow down before me. Both you, and then one day, your heirs.
So yeah, I remembered that scene and I thought, wow, that's what if you were squished into a two-dimensional reality? Imagine how limiting that would be, even from where we are in our 3D world. So that was just for fun. Okay. So again, time is a fragment, and the real lesson out of all of this is that the fragment is given to you to grow, to fulfill yourself, to experience, to live, reach happiness and liberation. And that's the point of this lecture, is to show us how to make the most out of the fragment that we have. All right, so now we're getting into more specifics. And the guide says that the limiting aspect of time creates a special tension. And it's our job to recognize this tension and explore it. And there's basically two different kinds of tension here. And the first kind is striving into the future. And we strive into the future when we don't like what's happening today. Today is unpleasant, it's unfulfilling. We think tomorrow is going to be better. We want to move into what we perceive to be a freer dimension in the future. Or on the other hand, we could be afraid of the future. Fear of death is sort of the ultimate example of this. Fear of death and decay. So we have this movement of pulling backwards into youth, into the past. And I would lump in there even fear of change, causes us to strain away from the future. This is really an energetic that we're being asked to feel. This special tension, the guide says, is like a dog pulling at its leash. So this is supposed to be a really sensory, energetic awareness that we're being called into. So here are some signs that you may not be using time well. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but just to get us started: listlessness, depression, impatience, nervousness, anxiety, tension, frustration, boredom, apathy, hostility, like I mentioned earlier, procrastination, and even missed opportunities. You might realize later you didn't use time well. So the guide says, don't shirk the effort in these moments to discover the origin of your negative emotions. Because if you analyze each negative emotion, you will find that it stands in conflict with the limited fragment of time at your disposal. Conversely, if you have constructive feelings, good feelings, those don't stand in conflict with time. Those are where your feeling and movement are flowing. And just because you don't have a negative feeling per se doesn't mean that there's not something to look at. Sometimes it's very on the surface, and sometimes it's just sort of a vague general climate. So you're still being called to just tune in and ask yourself these questions. So the next step is really just finding the link between the emotion that you're feeling, the negative emotion, and the sense of time that you're playing with in that moment. So when you're feeling listlessness, depression, tension, whatever, are you striving into the future, or are you straining away from the future? It's really important to find the unique texture of the emotion as it applies to you specifically right here and right now. So can you really feel and own that you're in whatever struggle this is with the present moment? So to give us a little bit more tangible sense of this, I came up with some examples off the top of my head. Again, this is no means exhaustive, but say you're striving into the future. What might that look like? Well, oh, when such and such is done, well, then I can finally relax. Or when I've made X amount of money, well, then I'll finally have enough. Or someday I'll get the relationship I want. Or you're looking for like the quick, easy fix to get whatever it is done and over with. Or you're impatient. Those are all examples of striving into the future. So straining away from the future, what might that feel like? Well, if I do that, I'm going to fail. I'm going to get hurt. I'm afraid of change. You could be trying to recreate the past or even recreate elements from your childhood. You could be judging people and situations in terms of the past. You could be procrastinating, not getting on with what you really should be doing. So the task is, to feel in what specifically for you is going on. If you're in your personal conflict with time, in the fragment that you have. And basically what it boils down to is that you're straining away from the now. You're straining away from the present when you're noticing these emotions. And straining away from the now usually means you're straining away from unwanted feelings. And sometimes you could be straining in both directions at the same time. You could be straining forward and away from the future. And needless to say, that's really a waste of energy, and it's destructive when you have your soul forces going in opposite directions. It's like having your foot on the gas pedal and the brake pedal when you're trying to drive at the same time. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's going to be frustrating. But if you do take and utilize the fragment of time that you have, and the guide says, by not straining away from the present, and you will utilize it, and you will thereby not seem, it will thereby not seem desirable to strain away from the present. And this state is truly being. I just found that an interesting notion that the guide defines. This is being when you're not straining and when you're just present. So I wanted to give an example from my personal life to help us, again, feel some sense of this. And I didn't have to look far. It was when I was coming to prepare this presentation. What did I notice myself doing? Well, procrastinating. And I was finding everything else to do except working on this presentation. And, on the outer level, this didn't really make a lot of sense because I love Pathwork. I love teaching. Actually, I love building presentations. I'm good at it. All of these things. I had plenty of time. So why was this so difficult? And so, this was great. What else am I studying right now? I'm going to stop and actually use this lesson. Okay, well, I'm procrastinating, so I'm straining away from the future. I don't want to move into it. And where did I get to with that once I actually tuned into myself? It was, it was some of those common things. I'm going to fail. This isn't going to turn out. I'm going to be judged. I had those emotions. And at the same time, I had this pressure to get done, right? So when this presentation is finally done, then I can relax. So I did have this pushing at the same time, pushing me into the future. At the same time, I had these feelings holding me back. And you can imagine this friction, this pulling in both directions. It was actually a form of suffering. It wasn't some, big, massive crisis, but this moment was a moment of suffering for me until I stopped and I looked into it using the principles in this lecture. Another example might be a conversation with a friend, a difficult conversation. It might be hard, it might be unpleasant, but once you get clear about what it is that's yours to say and what it is that you're actually feeling, what your honest feelings are, having that conversation with a friend can actually flow, and you will feel liberated at the end of it. I'm sure that's been the experience of many of us. It's liberating, maybe not exhilarating, maybe, but there's a new freedom. There's a movement. There's a rightness about what you've done in that moment, and that also is an example of properly utilized time. Okay, so with those examples, what I would like to do next is give you the opportunity to do a little exercise and work with the time fragment. So let's go back. And I invite you to make this a writing exercise if you feel called. So get out a pen and paper or your journal. Get ready to write your awareness, which is good. And if you would like to do this as a contemplation exercise, you're welcome to do that too. All right, so I invite you to center. Close your eyes for a second if you like, and reflect on a time recently where you had a negative emotion. It might be on the list, it might not be. It doesn't have to be big. In fact, don't make it big. It's just a little irritation even. Just find a negative emotion to work with that you experienced recently that's kind of fresh. Could be listlessness, depression, impatience, anxiety, tension, boredom, hostility, or irritation. Or maybe you want to think about a missed opportunity. All right, once you have that, let it sink in for a moment. And feeling into this negative emotion, can you sense whether you are striving into the future or straining away from the future? Are you straining forward or are you straining back? Or are you doing both at the same time? Take a moment to tune in. What do you find? What is the texture of this straining movement? And as you feel into this texture, what words emerge? Be fragments of words even. What are you speaking to yourself as you feel this straining? Words like, I'm going to fail. I'm going to get hurt. When this is done, I'll finally be good. Someday, I'll get what I want. I just need to get out of this. What words come up for you in this straining sensation? What words internally do you speak to yourself, maybe half consciously? And can you see how these words, these sensations are an attempt to avoid the present moment? That you're pulling away from the now. So ask yourself, what am I avoiding in the now? And see if a clarity wants to emerge. What are you aware of now that you weren't aware of just a few moments ago? It doesn't have to be a big awareness. Maybe it is. Just opening our awareness a little bit wider than it was before. And now I invite you to take a deep breath and accept this moment as it is now. Accept these feelings as they are now. Be really aware that you have this fragment of time as the container in which to notice your feelings and let them flow like a wave. This fragment and these feelings won't last forever. This fragment contains the truth. You have already grasped a larger truth than just a moment ago. In your reflections just now, you are already using this time fragment as it is meant to be used. And now, is there an even wider truth that wants to enter this fragment? A wider truth, maybe from your higher self. It might sound like, I am loved There's nothing to fear. I am good enough, just as I am. I am not alone. We are all one. My adult healthy ego can handle this. I can do this. This situation may not be what my little ego wants, and that's okay. I am safe. Things are happening in God's perfect timing. I can forgive. I can trust in the divine order of the universe. My limited mind is now beginning to grasp the beautiful wisdom this moment is revealing to me. Ask for help and know the wider truth that is present specifically as it is meant for you in this moment. Just take a moment. What is the wider truth for you in this specific fragment that you have? And now take another couple breaths just to end the exercise. And come back to us on Zoom. Now, if you had trouble finding the wider truth there or even some aspect of the fragment, don't worry. Pathwork is a practice. It takes practice. And there are many more tools and concepts, throughout the Pathwork lectures that you're meant to employ in working with the time fragment. And you can work with a helper to build your skills in this kind of practice. But hopefully you got something out of that practice as to what this time fragment is and what the guide is asking us to do with it. So here are some key takeaways that I would like to share from the lecture. What I think is really important is this invitation to really acknowledge and feel this tension with time. Because if you don't understand it, if you don't understand the special tension, then all your efforts to move beyond it are going to be limited in their effectiveness. Again, think about procrastination. Are you really going to get anywhere just by plowing ahead, vaguely feeling uncomfortable? It's going to be hard. So the invitation is to stop and feel this special tension that the guide is talking about. And when you accept it, that acceptance involves embracing time and the limitations, and know that the special tension are supposed to be here as part of this human experience, as part of this bigger picture of the universe that we're in. This is part of the human experience. It's to be accepted and welcomed. In fact, if we use it constructively, this conflict can be a gift that we have. But this fragment of time, and it can view it as a container in which you're invited to feel your real feelings just in this moment. And it's this energetic awareness that you're feeling with the special tension. And when you build this energetic awareness, you build your intuition and you build self-knowledge, which brings freedom and self-confidence. There's another Pathwork lecture about self-confidence. And when you have this wider awareness, it really brings you more options on a very practical level. More options, just more opportunities in the situation, more opportunity to be creative in your life. And I love the words of the guide, so here are some that kind of sum it up. If each opportunity of growth is used through the work on such a path, through going to the roots of each negative happening or mood, if then a deep understanding and liberation is experienced, then the exhilaration and such confidence in life and yourself as you now experience only occasionally will become more or less a permanent state. Exhilaration and confidence in life and yourself as a permanent state. Isn't that wonderful? Who doesn't want that? And you will then be at one with the time element of your dimension, thereby organically growing into an extended dimension. This extended dimension is a phrase the guide uses several times in this lecture. And I think it's really provocative. It's what is this extended dimension that the guide is talking about? Once again, here's a movie example. Pathwork helper Jan Rigsby pointed this one out to me, of what is an extended dimension of time. There aren't good words, but people have tried. So let's see what this one looks like.
It's been 300 years since I've seen a bald man.
How is it that you never married? And don't tell me it's just because you haven't got around to it yet.
What's the rush?
I should warn you, I've always been attracted to older women. How are you doing this?
No more questions.
That actually is a really good example of the extended dimension. I think that, oops, didn't turn off as much as it's beautiful scene. Being in love has a lot of these qualities of the extended dimension of time. There are some adjectives that the guide gives us interspersed throughout this lecture, kind of the carrot, the reward here, the promise. If we do the work, what does this extended dimension of time feel like? It's kind of hard to define it, but these are the words from the lecture: understanding, liberation, exhilaration, confidence in life and yourself, capable of living in the now, fully, meaningfully, dynamically, deriving the many joys of each moment, steady, harmonious flow, naturally and gracefully, rhythm and harmony, that special peace, full of a spark of aliveness, as dynamic as it is peaceful. And the guide doesn't mention it specifically in this lecture, but I would add gratitude to this list. Deep gratitude for the fragment of time, for the present moment. And I think gratitude really can be that gateway from the fragment to the extended dimension. Gratitude for fully utilizing, having and utilizing the fragment is what allows us to use it and opens this gateway to the expanded dimension. So I'd like to just do a quick exercise with us, maybe to feel into this a little bit more, just a quick one here. I wanted to invite you to close your eyes, center yourself in your seat, get grounded, and take a couple deep breaths. And I'm going to repeat these words. And as I do so, just take them in and notice what happens inside your body as I speak these words. Take a breath. Understanding, liberation, exhilaration, confidence in life and yourself, capable of living in the now fully, meaningfully, dynamically, deriving the many joys of each moment, steady, harmonious flow, naturally, gracefully, rhythm and harmony, that special peace full of a spark of aliveness, as dynamic as it is peaceful. Gratitude, understanding, liberation, exhilaration, confidence in life and yourself, capable of living in the now fully, meaningfully, dynamically, deriving the many joys of each moment, steady, harmonious flow, naturally and gracefully, rhythm and harmony, that special peace full of a spark of aliveness, as dynamic as it is peaceful. Gratitude, gratitude. Feel that movement, whatever it is, upon hearing these words. And take a few more breaths. And on the next breath, become centered and be aware of your seat. And when you're ready, open your eyes and join us again on Zoom. Okay, so that was our, whatever came up for you. Maybe that was maybe a taste of what the guide refers to as the extended dimension. And that's the presentation for today. So I'd like to close with a blessing from the words of the guide. My dearest friends, be blessed again, every one of you. May these words not merely pass through your brain. May they indeed give you the incentive to listen deep within yourself, in order to gain, on the one hand, a little distance from yourself, and on the other, just by doing so, just by gaining more objectivity, may you therefore become more at home within yourself. May you all be flooded by a wave of hope and security that you live in a benign universe in which you have nothing to fear. So thanks everybody for joining me today. I'm Janice Yasui. Feel free to get in touch. You can find me through Pathwork of California's website, and I will see you next time. Thank you.